Welcome back to the Mind and Money podcast. I'm Val, a financial planner.
And I'm Sherry, a financial coach. And today we're diving into what's next. So maybe you've created a budget from an Etsy template, or maybe you downloaded my free budget tool, which I'll link in the show notes. And then now what? Maybe you've downloaded 12 months of bank and credit card transactions and you've classified them and categorized them, and they're all pretty colors. And then you even went a step further and you took that information to make a budget to say, like, here's where I spent my money. Here's where I want to spend my money.
Or you've made guesstimates.
You've got something.
Yes.
You've got a plan for your money.
And I'll say, and you probably see this as well, 90% of the time you go, this looks like it should fit. The income is greater than the outflow. There's maybe a surplus and there might be, you might have your ideals in there. Oh, I'm investing this much in this world on paper, on the spreadsheet. I'm saving this much.
Saving $300 a month for vacations.
Right. But then your reality is not matching that picture. And you're going, okay, how do I get there? What is the action step?
And a gap I see a lot too is that not knowing if your reality matches your plan, because you have this pretty budget, you have this pretty plan, but then you don't know how to implement it into your life. You don't know what's next. This is the snapshot on paper, and then lives. And unless you're going to go through and in detail analyze your transactions on all of your spending on a regular basis, which the dopamine's probably worn out on that. There's no clear plan or path for you to take your budget and then build it into your life and have a way to manage it that doesn't take hours and hours every month, and also gives you the answers without a lot of effort. If you don't have a way to answer, can I afford this? Can I do this? There's a gap.
So what's the tools and what's the systems? And I do have some clients that just like, regular dental cleaning, they look at where their money went per transaction, per category, once a month or once a week, whatever they prefer. And it's built in like a routine. They enjoy that. But for some, the dopamine wears off, as Sherry was saying, and it's like, it was great for the first 3 months, and now I do not care. So what is the system that you can have that allows you to have flow without going negatively? So I'll say for the typical human, one thing that's really big is money going into one account, income, pays, whatever it is, and bills and spending being separate.
Yes.
So bills being like a little self-fed machine. So that's an account where all of your bills leave. I mean, I'm an auto bill person. Do you pay anything manually?
There's some things that there's a fee to automate somehow. Okay. So I do pay manually, but there's also, when I start working with a new client, they understand the benefit and the value, especially when ADHD comes into the mix, of automating, but they are so disconnected from their money, and they've hit overdraft more times than they can remember and been charged fees and had payments bounce. And they're so resistant to automating because of issues in the past. And it's like, if I automate my phone bill and then there's not enough money in there for that, then that means this, and this happens. So often the goal is automation, but there's so many barriers to doing that. And I think one shift that's important is if you've got an app or you've got a way to track your transactions, that's great. The challenge is that if you're at the end of the month or at the end of the pay period, at the end of the week, and you're like, I wanted to spend this amount on these categories. And then it's that end of the week and you're like, well, I wanted to spend $500 and I spent $800. There are some things you can do. You can return some things. But generally, once the money is gone, it's gone. And that awareness of, if I do this today, before you do it, what does that mean next pay, next week, next time my rent comes out? So having a way to see that, I love, there's a couple of different tools, but like a way to plan out your cash flow in the future, at least with starting with one pay cycle out, and then 2, and then 2 months, and then 3 months, to know, when do I have a little bit of wiggle room in my budget? When can I put an extra amount into savings or on my credit card? And having that be the tool that can help you answer, can I afford X? Between separate accounts and a cash flow tool, Like that's gold.
Okay, so let's say payday is today. It went into my account and my next payday is 2 weeks from now. I'm looking at what bills are coming out, what dollars are already claimed over the next 2 weeks. How can I do this? I can go back 35 days in my transactions and see what's going to definitely come out of here. Make sure if there's something that gets paid on a credit card, you're taking that into account as well.
Those are the sneaky ones. If you have a Netflix payment go on a credit card that's $20 a month, automate a payment for that same amount. Or if you've got 3 payments, if you've got your insurance and your Netflix and another subscription going onto your credit card every month, the goal should be to automate that same amount going onto your credit card each month too. So it doesn't continue to creep up.
So you've looked at that and you've said, okay. And if there are credit cards like that you're making payments to, yes. If it's not maybe Netflix the bill, but if you're making a payment to work down the debt, make sure you're taking that into account. So, okay, over the next 2 weeks, say there's $2,500 in that account and $1,700 has a job. That's our example numbers. The remaining,
bringing in math.
With the remaining $800, we have to live, fuel, groceries, life. So what do you see as a strategy for the client that's looking to be like, okay, this is my amount. How do I use it wisely? I've seen some clients do, it's more work, the like cash envelopes. That's an option. It's not for everyone. Separate checkings account. That's the only one attached to the debit card. That's typically gold. So that's your, and I love the online banking. You can nickname it. So nickname it living or spend.
In the US, this seems to be a lot easier for my US based clients. I have a client who opened, and I love the way we set this up. So she's got on the personal side, her main hub account, but then she's got her needs spending. So groceries, gas, all the things needed to live. And then she's got an impulse spending account because why not? And then she's also got a beauty spending account because that's important for her. And she was able to go in and get a card for each spending account.
Oh, that is nice.
And she was able to flip through a catalog of card designs.
I don't think we have that.
Some of them including Disney princesses.
I don't think we have.
We don't have, so generally my experience is if you are with one financial institution, you get one card and it is linked to one account. And in the olden days, there used to be more like it was connected to 2 accounts, and maybe that's still a thing. But
you can.
The debit machine had like, is this your checking or your savings account?
Yes, that's.
And I don't remember the last time I saw that. Although I just mainly use a credit card all the time, so maybe that's different. But
it does still give you the option. But your savings account can be a checkings account, so it'll say save.
Oh yeah. It's
so
like,
she could have
on the debit machine, it can say savings, but it can be linked to a different account.
Right. So her impulse could be her save on the card.
You've got to remember to do that. Like when you've got
separate cards is beautiful.
A separate card for each thing, and you can put a sticker on them or a label, or you can do something that's like, this is clearly this card.
I really love that.
I love that too. Dear financial institutions in Canada, get on that.
So for us Canadians, and I think also starting out I have a client doing it right now. She's just starting out this whole separation.
Oh, it can feel so overwhelming. It's kind of the equivalent of anything money related that you're making changes to. It's like pulling all of the shit out of your closet.
Yes.
And it feels like a disaster.
So just starting with one spend account, and ideally having some money left in it after. But for her, she's like, okay, and I want to start investing. And she wanted to do all of these things. And I said, right now we have to just get our consumer spending under control because we have credit card debt. We go through this cycle. So we need to start there. And then we can attack the other goals or go after them. But first we need to say, we're not living in our means. So how can we have a system that is as least resistant as possible, which is an account that has a hard 0.
And we've talked about this before, but for folks with ADHD who have balances on credit cards, who traditionally have crept up over time, maybe in combination with, I had to buy 4 new tires or I needed a plumber. Generally, there's like that little bit, the credit cards are creeping up. Taking some time to not use credit cards and get to the point that you're not overspending every month, because credit cards allow us to easily do that with less visibility.
Yes.
And I have some very, very bad news for for you and all the listeners. You can't do all the things all at once. We want to radically change everything.
Right. It's like starting to eat right, move more, sleep more, drink water. Start by drinking 1 glass of water in the morning.
And I think that you mentioned, like, what do we do with that $800? It's we give it a job.
Mm-hmm.
We give it a job as soon as we identify that it's the leftover, and having it be, this is my spending account, and this is my savings account, and this is my car maintenance savings account. Like, give it all a job, because when it has a job, that allows us to answer that, can I do X? Can I afford this question?
Right. So you have your beautiful budget. Set up a system that works for you. Pause on the plastics, except for your debit card. Look at your pay, what is needed, what has to stay in that account, what can you move over to the spend. And to Sherry's point, it's this, like, you can move it all to spend, but then we don't want you to get too used to that all being spend, because ideally some of that is also saved.
The best way to do this is to then link back to that plan you had for your money.
Yes.
So in a month, how much was designated for groceries, restaurant payment, and if you're paid biweekly, take half of that and put that in. So maybe that's $500, and you're like, $300. What do I do with this? And if you don't have any savings, even if you have credit cards, starting to establish some savings first and paying your minimum credit card payments. The math doesn't always math on that, but the math doesn't consider the win of, shit, this just happened and I need $600 for this. And woohoo, I have $800 in my savings account. So now, it sucks. I'm going to have $200, but I'm not adding to my credit card debt because I've created that stability, and I'm spending within my means, and I'm spending based on the plan I have set out.
It's the structure of secure dopamine.
Yes.
And safety.
You can start to get dopamine from saving. The important part of that is seeing the savings stick in your savings account, not become a revolving door. And often the inclination can be, I have $800 left, so I'm going to pay $800 on my credit card, and then I need groceries and all these other expenses. So then you use your credit card, but then because you're using your credit card for it, not a separate account with a designated amount in it, you're then like, no boundaries. So that's how balances tend to creep up, because maybe you pay $800 on your card, then you spend $1,000. So it just keeps staying stuck in that cycle, because the world pushes, if you have high interest credit card debt, you should try and pay it off as fast as possible.
Yes.
So logically that makes sense. But in theory, it's one thing versus like in actuality.
Yeah. And I've worked with clients where it's both. Some it creates more security having the number in the account. Some are so like debt driven that it creates more feel good energy putting it down on the debt. But then it opens it up for the wound of, we're here again, we did it again. And then it could create more of a shame snowball.
But when you have a little bit set aside in savings and you've got your spending stabilized through, and maybe that's cash, maybe that's a separate account, maybe that's a couple of separate accounts.
But that is like stabilized spending. That is step one in the recipe.
That is a huge part of building that strong foundation, because then fast forward 2-3 months in the future, you've got an amount in your savings account that feels good, not like it's going to cover me in all of the situations.
Right.
But then you put an extra $200 on your credit card, and then you have an automated amount set up to pay the Netflix and insurance on your card. And you've got an automation to pay your minimum payment too. So then that $200 is pure reducing my balance.
Yeah.
And then you do that a couple of months in a row, and then that starts to create that dopamine too, because it is trending down. And then you start to build that self-belief like, oh shit, I can do this. And that opens up so many doors too. So having a way to build a plan for the money you have in your account right now, and then continuing to look a little further in the future. So right now, if you've never done this before, if you've never looked at your cash flow, look at these 2 weeks, but then look 2 pays out. And just start to get a little bit further out. And then you can see like, oh, wait. And like, I love the biweekly pay, but a lot of people tend to get a little messed up with that. Oh my God, it's a 3-pay month, free pay, woohoo. But when you're actually looking at your cash flow and the timing of your bills and the timing of your pays, what actually happens is, depending on how many bills you have and how much they are, 1 month you go through 2 pay cycles and you don't have to pay a credit card payment for credit card 1 here. And then the next pay cycle, your phone bill isn't in there. And then the next pay cycle, your Netflix payment isn't in there. So instead of it being a true, when there's those 3 pays in a month, that full pay isn't a jackpot.
No.
Because there's still going to be bills.
It still has jobs to do.
And then if you're paying a mortgage or a rent that's like on the first of every month, then you've got 3 pays between those in those 3 pay months, which can be helpful. But it's really skipping those bills in kind of like a regular cadence that can help you get ahead versus it truly being a windfall in that 3 pay month, which I think a lot of times we think that's how it should feel, but then it doesn't feel like that because that's not the actuality of our timing.
Right. And if we spend like it's a free pay, that's for trouble.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought about that before. So it's really having that visibility to when is my money coming in and when is it going out? And then you have no electric bill, like 2 pay cycles. So then maybe that's an extra $100 towards your debt. You just start to chip away at it. And then the lower your balance gets, the more impactful your minimum payment is. So if your minimum payment is $100 right now and you automate that, what I recommend you doing is through your bank, say, I want to pay $100 every month on the 15th versus, hey, credit card company, I give you permission to take the minimum payment out of my bank account because it's going to be 100, then it's going to be 99, and then it's going to be 98.
Right.
So if you've automated that at $100, you're continuing to chip away at it a little bit faster too. So there's all of these things can start to feel like dopamine coming to you as well and start to give you these little bits of confidence, because the confidence with your money isn't a switch that flips overnight either. So finding ways to link your beautiful budget to how does it integrate in my life?
Yes.
Because I talk to a lot of folks about their money and they have a pile of journals where they made plans with their money or they've got a list of budgets in a folder on their computer.
A whole lot of Excels.
A whole lot of spreadsheets, but nothing that was the next step to make that be part of their life, because it's scary and you can feel
to actually live by it, right? Because then it's like, oh, it feels like scarcity. It feels like restriction, but it's not. It's just giving yourself the container to enjoy things in.
And don't build a budget that feels like you can never have any fun, even if you're paying off high interest debt. And the reality is that might be the only option right now.
Yeah, there might be some sacrifice that you have to go through to make up for the fun that you overhad for the last 3 years or whatever it may be.
Or 30.
Yeah.
But thinking about as soon as you can, how can you build even a small piece of it into fun? Maybe that's $20 every pay.
Yep.
Where it's just like, this is my YOLO money. And maybe I blow $20 every pay, or maybe I save it up and blow $100, depending on what makes the most sense for you. But
make it for you, make it make sense for you.
And giving yourself permission to spend impulsively on some things, because we know we will. And if we don't build it into the plan, that is going to have us resisting it a lot faster. So easier said than done. Don't try and build a plan that requires you to wake up and be a completely different person.
Gosh, no.
Tomorrow.
No.
Because then we do that and then we beat ourselves up because I am shocked that I woke up the next, and I'm not a completely different person. And I do want to impulsively spend on something. I suck at money. And no, you don't. Build a plan that aligns with your brain.
Reaffirms that. And we typically shut down further and go further down a negative path. Think of it as you're a wild horse. We're building a big, beautiful pasture. You're not chained to a tree with 1 foot of rope. You're still able to run and enjoy the things, but now safely.
Yes. Boundaries, but not brick walls.
Beautiful.
Because and here's a really fun thing that I see happen when I start working with somebody and they have the separate account that's for spending, but on those essential things, is our brains then. I had a client, I had a conversation with.
Then we start making things essential.
No. See, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. I had conversations with the client not too long ago, a couple, and how that spending account kind of seemed like it was underfunded. There were things that were then coming out of the bills account. And we were talking about do we adjust it because there was some wiggle room in their budget, and one of them was like, no, I don't want to adjust it. I don't want to increase it because it's really fun when we get close to that end that we get creative. But then I was like, okay, well, can we meet halfway here?
Adjust
because
it slightly.
It's obviously too much of a challenge because we're seeing transactions for essential things come up the bills account.
Right.
So how can we increase it a little bit, but still create some challenge? Because you get dopamine off of, we get paid in 2 days, but the cupboards are feeling a little bare. So how can we get creative and still eat good meals between now and then? But then also the understanding of because we can sometimes get away from managing our cash flow if we have shame around, I used my bills account 5 times for groceries this pay period because I had to. And then we can I don't want to go in there and look at it because I had to use it for all these other things. So that instead, if you need to put a little bit more money in your spending account, just instead of having it come out of your bills account, just move a little more to your spending account. If you've got the wiggle room, instead of seeing 10 transactions in your cash flow, you then see one where you moved an extra $100. It's so much easier to track too. But what I see a lot is we have this separate spending account and it's very clear exactly what it's for. And then we then have some challenge built in there to be like, oh, I said I was going to spend $500 based on my plan for these things. But if I spend $400, then I can move that extra $100 towards a financial goal or into your impulse spending account or to do whatever the hell you want with, because you're like, I kick this challenge's ass. And because it's specific and designated and you spend it more intentionally, that tends to happen pretty often. And that all the dopamine
building that momentum
from that too. There's so many, and I think that's part of the problem is there's so many ways to take a budget and implement it into your life. But there are ways that are more conventional for the neurotypical brains. And those tend to be what we start with. I should just track every single transaction. Well, that's probably not sustainable. So figure out.
It's not for everyone. So setting up a system that works for you.
And figuring out as you try it, what works, what doesn't work, and adjusting things based on, there wasn't enough going into my spending account. So I need to adjust other things in my budget to be able to put more in there. Just a budget is not something that's carved in stone. It's flexible and it needs to be able to flex when life changes.
Yes.
But when you're used to managing it in a way that works for you, making changes feels a lot easier.
Right. It's
and less overwhelming.
Adaptation, not reworking the whole plan.
Yeah. So find one way today to make something a little bit easier so you can have more clarity around where you are today with your money and where you're going to be before you get paid next. And then think about one more thing next pay and make this be the day that you have a plan for your money that doesn't go somewhere to die.
Yes.
Because that takes a little bit of my heart with it. And yes, please connect with us, share with us what's working for you, what challenges you've got. And if you've got any questions, we would love to address them on a future episode. So feel free to send us a DM or add a comment to a video and just let us know what you'd like to see more of or what challenges you're experiencing. And I think we talked about this before. We should re-explore maybe having somebody come and get coached live. I could see that being a little bit scary, but also if you're thinking about getting support and you're not sure where to start, or if it doesn't fit in your budget, this could be a great opportunity. So if that is you, drop a comment.
Let's chat.
Send us a DM because it's scary, but it would be so impactful for you and your money. We are glad you've been here. We hope you take one little sliver of this episode and implement it in your life so your budgets stop going somewhere to never be seen again. We want you to have a great day, and we will see you next time on the Mind and Money Podcast.